It's a Thursday evening. Thank you very much for choosing GHOne TV. Delight joining you with the latest happenings throughout the country. Well, tonight we come the length and breadth of the country. Our assurance to you is that we will bring you all the top-notch stories that you're looking forward to tonight. Be my guest. Stay with us as we share some details with you. But before we do so, let's look at some of the top stories that we have tonight. Coming up in the next 60 minutes, President John Dramani Mahama condemns recent attacks on journalists, stressing the urgent need for reorientation of security personnel to curb assaults on media practitioners and protect press freedom.
Officers have been identified, they've been interdicted, and an investigation is ongoing.
Also coming up tonight, Parliament paints gloomy verdict of President Mahama and NDC's first year in office, claiming Ghanaians are living in fear due to a worsening crime rate across the country.
Ghanaians no longer feel protected in their own homes.
Also in this broadcast, we examine the implications of a recent move by 118 former MPP parliamentary candidates who have declared their support for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia as flag bearer ahead of the 2028 general elections. Is this a worry for other contenders? Tonight, we get to peruse all of these and bring you more.
Of the Akufo administration were what makes Dr. Bawumia stand head and shoulders above the other contenders.
Racing and I had beto ye shine your eyes.
And later in business, banking consultants stresses need for a reduction in interest rates well ahead of the central bank's 2028 target to ease pressure on businesses and stimulate economic growth. All right, tonight, so we have these and many other interesting stories making the 1 hour bulletin. Stay with us as we also share some updates from our world of sports and bring you some international stories. We're back shortly with all the details. All right, so thank you very much for choosing GHOne TV. My name is Kweku. Temeng. Let's take our very first story for the evening. And here we go straight to the presidency, where personnel of the Ghana National Fire Service who assaulted journalists with Class FM have been identified and interdicted as investigations into the incident continue. While speaking during the visit to the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, that's GBC, President John Dramani Mahama, who condemned the attack, disclosed that the government has been engaging the Ghana Journalists Association and security agencies to address the matter and prevent future incidents. Well, he further stressed the need for the urgent reorientation of security personnel to curb assaults on journalists.
Oh, well, my views on that are known. I'm a journalist by training, and so there's no way we'll countenance, the continued assault on journalists. We've been in touch with the Ghana Journalists Association on these issues. We put them in touch with the security services. We need a reorientation of many of our security personnel to understand that just as they're doing their job of providing peace and safety, journalists are also doing their job of informing the people as to what is happening. So they are not antagonistic to each other. Indeed, they are both serving the same purpose. Yeah, so we're working on it. But occasionally these things will come up. But when they come, they must be dealt with, as firmly as possible. The Minister of Government Communication has taken it up. I think the officers have been identified, they've been interdicted, and an investigation is ongoing. But we won't countenance assault on journalists here.
All right, so let's bring you some political stories at this moment. And here, 118 parliamentary candidates who contested on the ticket of the New Patriotic Party in the 2024 general elections have declared their support for former Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia as flag bearer for the party ahead of the 2028 general elections. Well, according to the group, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia cannot be blamed for the party's defeat in the 2024 general polls, insisting that broader factors contributed to the outcome. Well, according to the group, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia cannot be blamed for this.
Through you, announce to the entire MPP fraternity in particular and to the generality of the people of Ghana our decision to support the candidature of His Excellency Dr. Alhaji Mahamudu Bawumia as flag bearer of our great party for the second time at the 31st January 2026 presidential primaries and subsequent the 2028 general elections. We 118 PCs who represented the New Patriotic Party for the 2024 general elections, convinced that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia was not the reason nor the cause of our 2024 electoral defeat, as per the various studies conducted by the party's own Professor Michael Kweku committee, highlights of which have been provided by the General Secretary, and also independent institutions such as the Conrad Adenauer Foundation, the New Patriotic Party's own parliamentary caucus, the Political Science Department of the University of Ghana, have, after extensive engagements amongst ourselves, and importantly, after engaging our polling station executives, electoral area coordinators, constituency executives, former constituency executives, Council of Elders and Patrons, taking a decision to come together and collectively declare our support for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's candidature for the 2028 presidential elections.
All right, so we'll stay on some more as the candidates further express confidence that his ideas and political experience position him as the best candidate to lead the MPP into the 2028 general elections.
Yeah, with the consent and concurrence of his and our boss, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, personally championed the implementation of several notable policy initiatives and achievements. These include, but are not limited to, championing Ghana's digital transformation, introducing initiatives such as the Ghana Card, mobile money interoperability, and digitalizing public records. As chair of the economic management team, championed the implementation of policies aimed at economic stability and growth, including tax reforms and financial inclusion. A notable intervention that is today driving the sustained improvement of the macroeconomic indicators is the domestic gold purchase program, comprising of gold for reserves, gold for forex, and gold for oil, which was initiated by Dr. Bawumia and implemented by the Bank of Ghana and the Precious Minerals Marketing Company, now Go Board, to deal with the dire economic situation that the Akufo-Addo government had to endure as a result of the COVID-19 global pandemic. The domestic gold purchase program has proven to be a masterstroke initiative that has, in the short to medium term, served as the cornerstone on which the NDC government's so-called economic success has hinged on. He has assisted President Akufo-Addo in overseeing the construction of roads, education, health infrastructure, including Agenda 111, among several other projects. These and several other contributions too, and the achievements of the Akufo-Addo administration were what makes Dr. Bawumia stand head and shoulders above the other contenders.
All right, so tonight you can join us with your thoughts on the 180 former parliamentary candidates from the New Patriotic Party who have thrown their endorsement to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. But we're getting some reactions on this as former administrator of the District Assembly's Common Fund and member of the Kennedy Japan camp, Irene Natoshi Addo, has downplayed the endorsement of former Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia by some 118 parliamentary candidates of the New Patriotic Party in the 2024 general elections. Well, according to her, the declaration of support will have little or no impact on the outcome of the party's presidential primaries. Well, she urged party delegates to vote based on their own convictions and assessment of who is best placed to lead the party into the next election cycle.
Why you say 100 people declare for this? Why these people declare for this? Na mu declare ya no and the mbaye. Onua enye obi declaration and aye de beto. Ye bie ye ni shine your eyes. Ni adwene ye ho ni ato. Jombo edu kwa kojina. 15 regional chairmen and a declare mano no report at media mean pia can declare my media mean delegates. It is time to vote for yourself. Mutubi ma kufwa mutubi ma eastern region and ne yebusa say about what Edian wo a wo de be kire mu ni hwe benifo ya beji kodia ne de nkasa na aboa this time wo tuama wo dofo the odo grassroots the pet delegates asem the assembly o kebi ma won.
So we're grateful that you're still with us. If you just joined in the program, it's News Tonight. My name is Kweku Temeng. We're bringing you some more political stories. Do stay with us. After this break, we're back with some more. All right, so thank you for keeping faith with us. We're back with more political stories, and some of the stories we earlier on brought to you. Some 118 former parliamentary candidates of the New Patriotic Party throwing their support behind Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. I just want to get some reactions to this, and joining us via phone is the spokesperson for the Kennedy Japan campaign team, Kwesi Kwarteng. Thank you very much, Kwesi Kwarteng, for joining us this evening. So let me find out from you, how do you respond to concerns that your candidate's influence couldn't even win him the Asin Central seat, even though he didn't contest for it? He couldn't win the Asin Central seat. And so much more come to the national level, his influence would not be much.
What kind of unintelligent logic is this? That the person that did not contest for the Asin Central seat must be blamed for the seat being lost. I mean, people have also argued that a lot of our party faithful failed to even come to the polls to vote because they didn't like the presidential candidate. And automatically, they don't even come and vote for the presidential candidate. They forfeit the opportunity of even coming to the polls to even think of even voting for the parliamentary candidate. So if at anything at all, it is the dislike for a presidential candidate that impacted or had an adverse effect on the parliamentary candidates that even affected the Asin seats. And interestingly, I am surprised that an argument could be advanced because considering all the odds, even 99% of our PC still outperformed our presidential candidates. So on all basis, will they blame Kennedy Japan for the seat being lost? Let me also hasten to add. And if we look at our since from 1996 till now, when Kennedy was the PC, and it was his popularity and his influence that was holding the seat up till now. So the people of Asin Central were voting for Kennedy Japan, not necessarily the party. So when he left, they didn't find any basis or any reason to still vote for the party. So it is not as though Kennedy left and he failed to ensure that it was not won. The people there were voting because of the candidature of Kennedy Japan, not necessarily even the MPP party. So he was holding the party. And if when it's at all, people should be grateful to the man for holding such a seat, which even initially and ordinarily and at first point was not even an MPP seat. So I think people advance an argument of why Kennedy Japan lost this and that and could not to give us answers to why we presented a candidate who had initially told us that he's going to bring Zongo community votes, lost 10,000 Zongo community votes. Out of 3,000 Zongo community votes, another person could only get one. Out of 276 constituencies, lost 199 of them. The main regions, they could not secure a single victory in even a single constituency. 350,000 people that came to the polls could vote for our PCs, yes, they voted against such a candidate. Probably they should be giving answers to that. Yes, the party had its own problem. Of course, we also had a candidate's problem in terms of the last election that we went. And that is what we should be discussing. Not
very well explained there. Maybe a subject that I would want to come back to later on. But for now, are you threatened by the public endorsement your key contender is receiving? In recent times, some 118, former parliamentary candidates for the New Patriotic Party. Does it come as a worry?
Oh, it's just a panic reacting to how and campaign keeps growing and keeps getting mightier and stronger with each passing day. It's just a panic reaction. Other than that, why will you humble 118 PCs? Supposedly, because even if you look at the pictures, videos from the press conference, they were not up to 10. Why will you assemble them?
Well, it doesn't look like the former vice president assembled them. It looked like they came together by themselves to come up to say, look, he cannot be blamed. Don't you think that's the...
I understand the politics better than yourself. So just like you understand journalism better than myself.
Oh, okay. Then share more with us. Share more with your cherished figures.
I know how these things are. If you recall, during the 2024 general elections, we used to do the same thing. Candidates come, instead of engaging the people and understanding them, and then engaging them rawly to be able to appreciate those who are for you and who are not for you, and addressing the problems and challenges that confront the people. We're not meeting them halfway. We're just bashing people just for cosmetic showmanship, political aspect. And look at the results that we had in the last election. And as though we've not learned from it, it's the same thing, the same strategy that the Bawumia campaign keeps repeating.
So in clear language, you are saying that Kweku or Ghanaians do not panic by this. They have mobilized them. It has nothing to do with these former parliamentary candidates coming out by themselves to say, we openly declare.
The sovereignty of the party lies with over 200,000 polling executives. And sometimes, if I'm a delegate, I'll find even such processes, such endorsements, very insulting, as though delegates do not have conscience to make a decision for themselves. So some way, somehow, the Bawumia campaign feels that ECs or MPs are going to ship delegates in line to align or vote in their direction. That is not going to work this time around. Delegates appreciate the issues better. They know that in the history of our country, the worst performance that we've ever witnessed in the political history of this country is that of the Dr. Bawumia. The data speaks to that. And they believe that even in the spirit of revival, we need a change for the party and change in leadership. And this time around, they are poised on bringing or introducing a candidate that Ghanaians will generally accept. A marketable candidate, not the candidate that has just been visible. That's a marketable candidate in this. So we can So we are not them.
Okay, Kwesi, kindly hold on for me and listen to this. I want you to address this particular concerns shared by a few others, because there has been a trade of words from your camp and that of Dr. Bawumia's camp. I mean, you fired first and Dr. Bawumia's camp responded. You just listen keenly and afterwards you share your thoughts with me.
Do you think if you were President Akufo-Addo, you would have settled on sticker instead of Amin? You understand?
Right.
So he makes the narration to sound as if Amin's movement to the finance ministry should have been him.
Yes.
And I'm telling you that Amin didn't go to the finance ministry at first to replace Ken Ofori-Atta. Rather, Amin went to replace Edubuahin. And if it had been said, true or not true, at the time that Ken Ofori-Atta didn't want to work with you, and he was the minister, there's no way you would have been considered. Do you understand the point I'm raising? Right. So what he's saying, I don't know what has come over him that is making him say the things that he's saying, just to position Bawumia as a tribalistic person. That is what he's trying to do.
So, Kwesi, thank you, for holding on and listening to this. So this whole subject of tribal bigotry issues involving sticker and, position as finance minister, amongst others. We just want to know how the Ken camp is reacting to this. If you can share your thoughts very shortly.
I've not had the opportunity to listen to the full remarks of neither have I had the opportunity to also listen to the full interview of Dr. Kweku. But of course, most importantly, I can speak for the Ken side that in terms of our campaign, it has always been benchmarked on issues. Of course, there has been several attempts to blackmail us into silence on tribal lines. But we are focused. We are selling our message of jobs, meaning power for the party, and of course, creating jobs. And for me, that is for me what is most important and what the Kennedy team wants to preach. Any attempt to introduce tribal elements or tribal lines into our political discourse will be condemned in the utmost steps. It doesn't matter where it's coming from.
Spokesperson for the Kennedy GHOne campaign team there, Kwesi Kwarteng, joining us with his thoughts on some issues that we raised tonight. We're grateful for your time tonight. I'll still stay on some political stories. And here, the minority in Parliament has delivered a gloomy assessment of President John Dramani Mahama and the NDC's government's first year in office. Well, according to the Deputy Minority Leader, Patricia P.J., the administration's first year has been characterized by what she describes as worsening crime levels and poor economic management.
Nothing exposes the government's failure better than the gold for reserve disaster. In just 9 months, we lose $240 million. $240 million gone. That is 2.6 billion cedis, money that could have been built, that could have built hospitals, equipped schools, and established storage facilities for farmers. Instead, it was lost in a politically connected gold scheme. Ghana had recorded about 628 cases of armed robbery and 340 murders involving illicit arms, and an alarming toll in just half a year. Ghanaians no longer feel protected in their own homes. The duty to safeguard life and property has weakened under politicized policing and neglect of security services.
Well, away from parliamentary matters, it's now time for us to bring you insight tonight. On Insight Tonight, President Donald Trump on Wednesday withdrew the United States from 66 international organizations and treaties, including the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change and the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. Well, in a presidential memorandum issued on Wednesday, President Trump said it is contrary to the interest of the United States to remain a member or participate in or otherwise provide support to the affected organizations. Well, he has directed all executive departments and agencies to take immediate steps to effect the withdrawals. Many of the organizations affected are the United Nations affiliated agencies, commissions, and advisory bodies dealing with climate change, labor, migration, education, economic development, cybersecurity, and human rights. The Trump administration has repeatedly criticized such bodies, describing their work as promoting diversity-focused and intense work initiatives. Well, joining me via Zoom for an in-depth conversation on this development is Professor Daniel Dramani Kipu Sunyezi, an associate professor at the GHOne Center for International Affairs and Diplomacy, LESIAD, well, at the University of Ghana. Thanks, Prof, for joining me tonight. Prof, so let me find out from you, what is your initial reaction to this latest move by the United States, and be more specific, the Trump administration?
All right. Thank you very much. And thanks to viewers and listeners. Yes, I am not so surprised with this radical foreign policy direction of President Donald Trump, in the sense that Trump certainly is somebody who is not so much enthused as far as multilateralism is concerned. He believes in unilateralism, and his message is to make America great. And that is all about transactional. Whatever foreign policy or whatever decision that he's taking, he's looking at what is America going to benefit from this particular policy. What is the benefit, what is the economic benefit to America for this treaty or convention? As far as the American interest is not served, he sees no reason why thousands or millions of American taxpayers' dollars will be spent on this international governmental organizational between whether they are multilateral, whether they are governmental or non-governmental organization. And that is exactly why he has taken it out. He is promoting American interests. Any organization that is not promoting directly the interests of America, Trump certainly is against it. And that is his posture. But the implication of this is that America's position will also be going down. The influence of America, what makes America a global actor, a force to reckon, will be taking a downward direction. Because if you were taking care of the United Nations, that is the whole world body, and then you start disconnecting, you will be losing that global influence. Climate change is a very big issue. All countries, developed and developing countries, are suffering, are having the effect of climate. And that is why this international treaty is there for all the countries to make conscious effort, at least to cut down emission so that we can deal with climate change. And if you come out of that, that certainly is not good for the world. But as I said it, for American interests, he thinks it's right. But the global role of America, we see a downward trend. The American influence will down. That is what the president possibly has not reflected.
All right, Prof. Kipo, I want you to position yourself well because at some point you were breaking off. But let me find out from you something that I've noted down. You've talked about the effects on America itself and their influence so long as they operated through the United Nations is concerned and how this will come down. But let's look at us developing countries that were immediate beneficiaries of some of these multilaterals that were coming through. I want to find out from you, for countries in this part of the world that rely heavily on multilateral institutions, does this decision present opportunities for self-sufficiency at this time, or vice versa? Let me find out from you. Does it, kind of pose a looming developmental challenge for us?
Yes. For the developing countries, we are faced with a challenge in the sense that we rely on these global agents to be able to cooperate. That is international cooperation. And once we cooperate, dealing with issues of environment, Ghana or countries in the global south benefit. We are at the end point in terms of flood, in terms of disaster. Look at what happened in Haiti. So the global south suffer a lot of this environmental damage. So if all this great funding that is coming from United States of America is cut off, we are going to suffer it. And certainly that is why we should worry that such a decision is taken. But as I said it, Trump is not looking at the interests of the rest of the world. It's looking at America cannot continue to be spending millions of dollars for international organizations, and for him, where those organizations are not promoting the direct interests of America. And if that is not done, then America will withdraw.
I'm interested in finding out the U.S. dominance at this moment. Now, I'll share a few with you. So, withdrawals coming through, you've seen some 66 organizations just like that will wake up and support for them is gone. I'd want to know visa restrictions quite recently, slapping it on some developing countries amongst others, or countries they were hitherto dealing with, not only in sub-Saharan Africa, but in other parts of the world. I mean, other policy shifts, the United States. I want to find out, is the United States becoming more isolated globally? In your opinion, as a professor, if you have to deal with your students, and would you say that, look, this global superpower is now gradually becoming isolated somewhat globally, rather than remaining that democratic beacon many countries, including Ghana, have looked up to?
Yes, as I mentioned, America is on a decline based on some of these radical policies that have been pursued by President Donald Trump. Because America is great because of this global role that is performing. And if you are now cutting it off, then it's a way of making America becoming a small state, because we have a big state politics and a small state. And America is a big state that we all know because of the global role. Americans present at UN, American support for UN agencies, UNICEF, and all these kind of agencies, climate, and all these global treaties and conventions. America is a key donor. America provides a lot of financial resources to these things, and that is why all these international organizations are started. And if the trend that Donald Trump is taking continues, the dominance of American dollar the dominance of American politics, the dominance of America as a state may be taking a downward trend. We'll see a decline. And we will be seeing a new order where China will take over. Once America creates a vacuum, geopolitics, China come in there, and that is where we'll now begin to see China becomes the world. And that is where we are going. Russia, maybe because of the Ukraine war, its dominance is going down. But once America go off, China is likely to be another global actor that will take over the position of America. And the world will now go towards China, and Beijing will be the point and not Washington. And that is the aspect I think that Donald Trump and his policy advisors should look at carefully. Not just being transactional, but also look at the global influence of America. That if you go off from these multilateral organizations, America will see a decline in terms of influence, and even the power of the dollar may go down, and then euro or other currencies and other actors will come in. China and EU are other key actors that will take over once America continue in this direction.
Well, thank you very much. I've been interacting with Professor Daniel Dramani Kipu Sunyenzi. We're grateful for your time. He joined us via Zoom, and that would close it for Insights for tonight. For your time, let's do some more stories. And here, the acting executive secretary of the National Commission on Small Arms and Light Weapons, Dr. Adam Bona, has warned that anyone found in possession of illegal firearms after January 15 deadline will be arrested and prosecuted. Well, according to Dr. Bona, such offenses constitute a first-degree felony and could attract lengthy prison sentences. Well, he stressed that the ongoing National Weapons Amnesty provides a rare opportunity for individuals to surrender firearms voluntarily without fear of arrest, interrogation, or any form of payments. Well, he made these remarks at the National Amnesty campaign held in the Volta region.
This exercise we have undertaken, even though we stretched our limbs, is to ensure that Ghana remains an oasis of peace. We cannot go down the way other countries have gone. And as the chief director of the RCC did say, it's unimaginable to find people go into a mosque and begin to shoot. So the amnesty, as declared, is to allow those who have illicit weapons to surrender them to the nearest police station. Or you get there and say, I have a weapon, how can I register the weapon? If you don't do that before the 15th of January, you will be arrested with the weapon and punished. And you can see the police officers here. They know all the criminals in this country. If you thought they didn't, they do. I'm sure you have seen in the news as of yesterday and today, 1,000 rounds of ammunition have been seized by Ghana police. Prior to that, they had seized 2,600 plus rounds of AK-47 ammunition. It means that those who think this amnesty is not working, it is working.
Well, let's bring you other stories. And here, the Director of Communications of the Pilgrims Affairs Office of Ghana, Mohammed Amin Lamte, says the payment process for the 2026 Hajj has officially ended. Well, he explained that the early closure will allow operators to secure accommodation, flights, and other logistics in Saudi Arabia on time, helping to reduce stress and unexpected costs for pilgrims. Mr. Lamte noted that late payments often create administrative challenges due to strict Saudi deadlines and urged prospective pilgrims to adhere to timelines in future for a smooth Hajj experience.
50 calls.
Okay.
Some of the executives receive more than 100 calls because there are individuals who are very lethargic. They are very slow. So when they give them money, go and pay for Elil, they will not go and pay. They are waiting. Some of them will even wait after fasting before they will pay. And it has been a problem with the Hajj board because over there in Saudi Arabia, Lily, whatever contract that you sign, you have to pay in advance.
Okay.
So that is why sometimes we have to go to the bank. Islamically, you don't go and take money from a bank and then come and pay with some interest and all that. But sometimes we have no option. So that is why Ibrahim Tanko, he understands the terrain. That is why this time around we're monitoring. So when the bank communicated that, you know what, this is where we have reached, come on, we say we have to close it down.
But some have raised concerns about the fact that it was too sudden, it was abrupt. Are you looking at possible reopening anytime soon?
Lily, it is not about being abroad or people are not aware. When you go back to all the press releases that I dropped to the public, to the media, there's no any release that I did not mention go and pay. I have mentioned it. There is even one release that came purposely for payment. And I indicated, when you pay early, it's going to help the process. I said it. So it's not about being abroad. The point here is that it is about managing the process. If you want to say that because the thing is over, we aren't going to close it down, people should continue paying. When there are problems, who do you blame? Because the problem has already cautioned us that we should not repeat the old problems.
If you're just joining us, this is News Tonight. It's now time for us to bring you the latest happenings from our world of business.
The Business Brief is brought to you by CompuGhana, passion for technology.
Well, in business tonight, the banking consultant, Dr. Richmond Etuahene, has expressed reservation regarding the Bank of Ghana's decision to reduce their lending rate to 10% by end of year 2028. Well, according to him, all factors that influence a downward review of lending rates, such as the inflation, policy rates, and currency performance, have all shown a dramatic downturn. Hence, the need to lower Ghana's interest rates, which is the highest in the West African sub-region currently. Speaking on Newsroom, he opined that based on his analysis, by the second half of year 2026, the central bank will reduce the lending rate to about 15% and not wait until year 2028. His comments came in the wake of Otumfuo's call on the Bank of Ghana to consider a reduction in the lending rate.
Doc.
I believe Otumfuo has made a clarion call, which is very, very important. Because if you look at the sub-region, Nigeria, interest rate, bank lending rate is 18.9%. Ivory Coast is just 5.5%, with inflation of 0. And Nigeria was 27%. Our interest rate, our bank lending rate is astronomically high, and it cripples businesses. With the stabilization in the economy, currency policy rate downward, I would have thought that at least by the second half of this year, the lending rate should come as low as, say, 15 or 10%. Because if your policy rate is about 16 thereabout, your lending rate is over 20%. And I believe that if you really want to turn the economy around, what Otumfuo is saying should be taken with all seriousness. Other than that, this country will be an importer of everything instead of the net exporter, because producing in Ghana and exporting interest rates are astronomical. And that is not only the cost. We have electricity costs, higher one. We have all these taxes and electricity. And if we really want to make a friendly economic environment with the inflation as low as 5.3%, I believe interest rates should come as low as 15% to help the business. Other than that, there is no way this economy is going to recover, because interest rates are astronomically high. I think in the whole sub-region, I think it's higher than any other economy, as far as my research has been concerned.
All right, so definitely you would want to get more on interest rates. Joining us for a conversation now is the Public Relations Officer of the Ghana Union of Traders Association. I'm talking about GHOne. Joseph Paddy, thank you very much for joining me tonight. First, let me find out from you. Happy New Year to you. Now, Otumfuo has made a call, and the Bank of Ghana says 10% by year end 2028. What's your take on this whole lending rate issue, interest rate issue?
Yes. Thank you very much, and a happy New Year to you. Now my position in GHOne has changed. I'm now the first vice president of GHOne.
All right.
No longer the PR, right?
My apologies on that. First vice president.
That's fine. That's okay. It's because I've not brought you a letter. That is why. Don't worry. That's fine. Yes, but Otumfuo rightly hailed the nail. That's what we're calling for as a trading community and a business community. We've been asking for all this while. That one of the challenges for the business community is the cost of doing business as a result of some of these lending rates from the commercial banks that we go and borrow at the rate of 35, at times 40%. And then God be so good for as a country, we've been able to stabilize our currency. And now inflation has dropped to about 5 point something, I think 5.3 or something. And then policy rate was also dropped. But it's not having the needed impact on our interest rate. We don't know why. Because normally they use policy rate to curb inflation. And if inflation has dropped significantly, we expect it to have the correlation with our interest rates. Therefore, when we go to the commercial banks to borrow, to trade, or to do business, or even to go into manufacturing, we can have a cheaper credit to trade with. But the lending rate still stands at between 25 to 30 to 35%, depending on which kind of banks you go or where you go. So when the Otumfuo said that he expect the Bank of Ghana, the Bank of Ghana can only help with the policy rate. But when it comes to the interest rate, it's the commercial banks. And once the Bank of Ghana is a regulator of the commercial bank, you should be able to compel these commercial banks to reduce their margins. Because if policy rate has dropped so significantly, the margin should not be that. The margin should be about 5 to 6%. That would be fine. But we see some of the margins go as high as 35% to 40%. And when we ask the commercial bank, all that they tell is the risk factor, high risk. But these days where we have Ghana card, we have GPR address, we know where their shops are, we know where their business are, we know where their homes are. I don't think that risk factor still pertains. So these are some of the challenges we have as a business community. So we support the call by the Otumfuo that at least Bank of Ghana should be able to help the commercial bank to reduce their rate so that we can do prudent business. We can have cheaper credit to trade. So that consumers will also have some respite when it comes to the public space or the market space. Yes.
Joseph Paddy, is always refreshing speaking to you. Thank you very much for joining us on the interest rate subject. What we'll do other business stories, and your technical advisor at the Ministry of Energy and Green Transition, Dr. Yusuf Suleimana, has described the successful drilling of the J74 well in the Jubilee field as a major boost to Ghana's oil production, attributing the development to government's creation of an enabling environment to attract significant investments into the sector. Well, the new well is expected to increase Jubilee oil production by some 18.6%, raising output to nearly 70,000 barrels of oil per day. Speaking to GHOne Business, Dr. Suleimana said the development is clear evidence of a robust foundation being laid by the government to revitalize and expand the oil and gas sector.
The enabling environment that ignited the excitement of the upstream players to pledge to invest this kind of massive investment into the field is what we are beginning to realize at this moment in time. It is an indication of a renewed interest within the upstream. And then the fact that even with oil prices going down, we have this interest building up within the upstream. I think it's a great thing. What we need to do is just to work towards closely with our partners, understand each other, like what is currently happening, and I think it will continue. I believe it's going to continue the understanding between the ministry led by Dr. John Jinapong and that close and seamless relationship with our upstream partners, Talo, ENI, that relationship is beginning to yield massive results, and that's what we are seeing. So there are better times ahead with respect to our production portfolio, and if we can get our upstream right, that will be in a better position to support our revenue flows and even support our downstream in a way. Clearly, I think it's the beginning of the realization of the robust foundation that was laid in 2025. The enabling environment that was created in 2025 and still being maintained is what is bearing fruits in the pledge to drill more wells. And the partner.
All right, so that's about all we have for you in business tonight. Benghazi joins me shortly with the latest from our world of sports.
The Business Brief was brought to you by CompuGhana, passion for technology.
Welcome to sports, where President of the Ghana Athletics, Bafuseni, has revealed that the sports ministry has agreed to spend over 40 million Ghana cedis to organize and host the upcoming 24th CAA Africa Athletics Championship. Now, Ghana signed an MOU to stage a Confederation of African Athletics Super or Senior Athletics Championship between May 12 and 17. The championship will be held at the University of Ghana Sports Stadium here in Ghana.
We started the preparation and we had extensive and fruitful discussion with the Honorable Minister for Sports and Recreation, MP for Boeing constituency. We had a lot of discussion, budgeting, sponsorship, equipment, time, the dates, vis-a-vis the World Cup, the Commonwealth Games. So we had an extensive discussion with the minister, and finally we settled on that to the extent that the ministry has given it a budget allocation within the ministry budget. The minister wanted everybody to be transparent, and just like the president also asked that everybody should be transparent, we are very transparent. The minister has given us in excess of 40 million Ghana cedis to organize the competition. We know the amount will not be 100% for what we demanded, but so we're also putting up a very strong sponsorship committee led by the chairman, Mr. Farhan Alassane, managing director for Commercial Bank, Bolare, Madam Veronica Comey. They are going to constitute, and a few others, to constitute a sponsorship and branding committee to look for money to augment what the ministry is offering us as a host country.
Bafuseni announced the full schedule for the championship that will be held in Ghana, like I said, in May.
If all CAA council members will arrive in Ghana, there are about 19 of them. On the May 9th, they'll have a council meeting. And then the May 9th, too, the technical delegate will also arrive, and they will do physical inspection of all our equipment on the May 10th. The same May 10th, all athlete participation teams will be arriving. They will have technical meeting on the May 11th. By that time, they might have finished the inspection of the facility and everything. On the May 12th, the competition starts on May 12th, run up to May 17th.
Do some boxing news now, and a sad one, where Anthony Joshua has paid tribute to close friends Sina Gami and Latif Lat Ayodele, who were killed in a car crash. He's finding it difficult and tough to process their deaths. Now, Gami and Ayodele died when the vehicle they were in, alongside heavyweight boxer Joshua and another passenger, collided with a stationary truck on a major road near Lagos. She also sustained injuries in a crash before flying home to UK and attended a funeral at a mosque in London on Sunday. Thank you, I quote, "Thank you for all the love and the care you have showed my brothers," he posted on his Instagram today. "I didn't even realize how special they are. I'll just be walking with them and cracking jokes with them, not even knowing God kept me in the presence of great men. 100% is tough for me, but I know it's even tougher for their parents. I have a strong mind, and I believe God knows their hearts. May God have mercy on my brothers." End of quote from Anthony Joshua today on Instagram page after attending the funeral on Sunday. Today, he wrote this about his friends who passed on in an accident in Nigeria. And that's it for us in sports. Up next is GHOne.
All right, so it's time for me to refresh you with some entertainment at this moment. And you know, in Ghana's music industry, a name is more than identity. It's a brand, a bold statement, and sometimes a second chance to stardom. Well, on this Throwback Thursday, we take a nostalgic trip down memory lane, revisiting moments when some of Ghana's biggest entertainment names boldly switched stage names, not just for style, but also a calculated chance at rebranding. Well, Nanayao Asari of EIB's Entertainment Desk has the rest of the story.
Bandana from Ghana. These name changes marked turning points that reshaped identities, refreshed sounds, and rewrote legacies in Ghanaian music history. When the morning of the Irene and Jane duo that emerged from was another bold another calculated step to align sound consistency. Reporting for GHOne.
One of the tunes I picked up in them, a higher do, GHOne, baby, and that's how I start your long holiday. My name is Kweku, and enjoy the rest of your evening, and we're back here tomorrow with some more. But the holiday constitution begins from tomorrow. Friday is holiday. Enjoy the rest of your evening.